This is a recording of the talk that I gave at Agile Tour Montreal in 2023. Hi, my name is Raoul, and my background is that of a product designer, a UX designer. But about 7 years ago, I transitioned to a manager career path. And I was given the mandate to hire 20 people and build a team that creates mobile applications. And I remember that day when the chief digital officer came to me and she said, Raoul, I want you to go out there and hire only top talent. And I was, yes, of course, you will have the best team, only top talent. Thank you so much for your confidence. But as I started interviewing experts, I also started wondering, what is my definition of top talent? What does it mean to me as a hiring manager? And then I realized that I had a very limited and biased definition of top talent. My definition was that of a highly skilled professional, that they are very efficient at their job. But as I was building a team and a team culture, I realized that there were other attributes that I needed to supplement to my definition of top talent. And those were, I was searching for people that could create positive work relationships around themselves, because that is really the base of a good collaborative culture. Humbleness also helps with people really coming together and collaborating. And also passion, people that they are self-motivators and they really care for what they do. But most of all, I was searching for people that they are adaptable, that they could adapt to any context. And that means that they have a really good ability of learning. That really matters in a fast-paced environment that we work today. And as I supplemented this definition of top talent, I was also starting wondering, where do I find this top talent? Where is it created? Does Google have a factory that creates top talent, or IBM? Or maybe small agencies around Canada, they create top talent because they work with clients and people learn to be really adaptable. And as I was thinking of that, I realized that actually top talent is just a temporary perceived state through a company lens. So someone who is top talent at Shopify might not be top talent at Intact. Or someone that is top talent at Facebook today might not be top talent in 3 years in the same company. But as I was meeting more and more people, I could see that there were some individuals that would be top talent anywhere they would go at any time because of their ability to learn, their ability to really self-actualize, upskills by themselves. Learning is something which is really important for us to keep ourselves up to date and to grow. And some companies really understand that. Now, in the talk that I gave at Agile Tour Montreal, I asked the public to vote their company as a place from learning from 1 to 5. If they perceive their company to be a great place of learning, to give it a 5-star. And if they perceive it not such a great place for learning, to give it a 1-star. Now, a lot of people in the public had their tickets paid for the company. So that means that they had a learning benefit from the company to be at that conference. And after some votes, we could see that the average perception of the people in the crowd was that companies are 3.8. Almost a 4-star as a good place for learning. This is great. This is great news because it means that a lot of companies understand the importance of learning. But they are not perceived as a 5-star. And I want us to look at what makes a company an okay place for learning, but not a great place for learning yet. Now, when you're thinking of a university, which is a place for learning, or a company, which is a place of learning, there is a whole paradigm shift. Think of someone that is choosing a subject of study, let's say marine biology, because they liked Ariel and they want to learn more about the life under the sea. Now, when they choose that subject and they go to a university, the university would give them a study plan. They will tell them what books they have to read, what classes that they have to take, what professors they will be guiding in their journey. And they probably also have classmates that they will be learning the same thing. But the most important thing is when they enter a university, they are given a study plan. Now, at the workplace, in an organization, even if someone is choosing to upskill or to learn a new subject, let's say business analysts want to learn more about how to do UX design. The company will not be able to give the business analyst a course plan and tell, oh, these are the things you should do to really upskill your UX design. So there is already a really high entry point on your learning goals in a company. The second thing that really holds back people from learning in an organization is that when you're in a university, a place for learning, you're there for yourself. You're there on a solo journey to learn, to get that certificate, to get that diploma. And you are encouraged to do that. You're encouraged to study and to work by yourself to gain that knowledge. But when you're moving into an organization, the organization values the most teamwork, collaborative work. So anything that you would do on a Wednesday afternoon towards your learning goal, if you take 1 hour just to read an article, it will feel like you're stealing time from teamwork, from project work, because you're investing into yourself. So in an organization, you will always have prioritization conflict between teamwork and me work. The third reason that might hold individuals back in learning into organization is that their performance is tied with their learning. Now, their performance review is looking at how good they are at what they do. So if they are seen as a high performant, that means they are really good at what they do. But when you're learning a new thing, you're probably learning it because you're not good at it at all yet. So performance and learning just doesn't fit very well if you put them together. So if you put learning as part of the performance review, then people would really be afraid that as they are learning something and failing at it, they might not be seen as high performers anymore. So decouple those two. Now, I gave it a lot of thought of how to encounter and how to make a work environment a great learning environment. I spent my last 3 years in studying organizational psychology, group dynamics, and coaching, and did a master's degree at Concordia University. And as I was doing this degree, I started experimenting with the teams that I manage. And I started experimenting by creating little rituals or coaching them to find their learning goals. And after about 2 years, I realized that I started seeing a pattern that I use in different exercises I do with the teams or different rituals I have with the team. And that's what gave birth to ALTE framework, a learning team experience framework that I want to give to you today. Now, as we're going to go to this framework, even if the framework has 4 stages, each stage has a couple of exercises that you can just take away already and implement with your team if you feel that you're not ready yet to integrate the whole framework with your organization. You can start with 1 or 2 exercises, and then you will build up to integrating the whole framework with your team. As I was saying, the framework has 4 stages. And the rest of the talk is looking in details of what exercises do I do in these 4 stages and why do I do them. But before, let's look at some of the basics. Now, a learning team experience framework needs 1 facilitator. This facilitator could be the manager of a team. Let's say the manager of all the documentation team in a company. Or it can be a guild leader, like a front-end engineer that organizes a meeting for all the front-end engineers distributed in the company's different departments. Or it can be a scrum master that wants to do this learning exercise for their project team to really create more bonding spaces between the team members. Now, the participants could be anything from 4 to 16 participants. Less than 4 participants doesn't work because you cannot create learning buddies or learning pairs. More than 16 participants might be just too much of a group. I think a sweet spot is between 10 to 12. But I implemented this framework up to 16 participants, and you can do it if you're a skilled facilitator. Now, if you're implementing the whole framework, it can take anything from 3 to 6 months. You need time because learning takes time. And if we can do product roadmaps for 2 years, we can invest a bit of time in planning our own learning goals for our team. So yes, this will be time well used. But let's look how it really looks on a time frame. To give you a bit better understanding, how will we be using this time? Now, in the first 2 weeks, the facilitator will help each participant find their learning goal and build a learning plan. At the end of these 2 weeks, all the participants will have learning goals and a learning plan. The second stage will be when the facilitator is organizing a team event. In this team event, which can last for anything from 1 hour to 3 hours, the participants will bring their learning goals and will share with each other what are their learning goals and learning plans. At the end of this event, all the participants will have a study buddy. So the facilitator will break the group into pairs. At the end of this event, we enter the learning period. This is where all the participants and their study buddies can self-organize and just go out there and learn and implement their study plan. Now, the facilitator can nudge them, so the study buddies can organize weekly meetings, for example, half an hour where they study together based on their intended goals. This learning period is what takes really the longest time because learning takes time. So this learning period should be about 3 to 6 months. If the learning period is less than 3 months, it will create anxiety in the participants. And if it is more than 6 months, you might be losing some of the team that was created for this learning period. So I think the sweet spot is anything between 3 and 6 months. At the end of the learning period, the facilitator will organize a graduation event. In this graduation event, the facilitator will enable participants to revisit everything they learned in the last 3 months, like a bit of a demo of their learning goals, and nudge participants to reflect on their learning behaviors. So next time when you do that with the participants, they will know how to improve their learning pattern. So these are the 4 stages, how they look on a time frame. So let's look a bit what really happens in each stage and what are the type of exercises you could just take right now and implement with your team if you don't want to implement the whole framework. In the first stage, the facilitator will coach the participants to find their learning goal and build a learning plan. I like to send the participants in advance a template with 12 skills selected that they can choose as a learning goal. The template that I use right now is for product designers. And I have more templates on my website for business analysts, product manager, engineers, and so on. I sent this template in advance and I asked the participants before the meeting with me to select 3 learning goals they want to invest their next 5 months to learn. Now, they will come into this meeting and I will ask them about their selection process on how do they go and choose their learning goals. One of the most important questions I ask in this coaching meeting is, based on the challenges that you have at work right now, how will these 3 learning goals will help you? What I'm actually asking is, what do you really struggle with right now at work? Now, that is a very powerful and vulnerable moment. But because I'm asking that question in a growth related, in a learning related meeting, the participants will talk about what do they struggle with at work. If I would ask them that in a performance meeting, they will probably not tell me, but instead they will tell me what they really excel at. Now, at the end of this meeting, and after we revisit what was their selection process and how it will help them with their job, I ask them to prepare for the next meeting learning plan for these 3 learning goals. Now, they will come in the next meeting with different resources. They will choose Udemy classes, articles, books they want to read for the 3 goals that they chose. In this second meeting, I really help them to edit down their learning plans. So, for example, if they have 5 months that they can dedicate to learning goals and they want to read 6 books, I will ask them how many hours do they want to invest per week in their learning plan. If they say 1 hour, that means in 5 months they have 20 hours. So what can they do in 20 hours? So we edit down to maybe reading only 1 book or maybe focusing on 1 learning goal instead of 3 learning goals. And we park the rest. This exercise is very important because you don't want to overwhelm the participants when they start their learning goals. Because if they see that there's too much for them to do, they might actually just give up. It's better to invest in 1 learning goal than none. At the end of this stage, all the participants will have learning goals and a learning plan. This is when we move to the second stage, which I call the Fresh Start Workshop. In this workshop, the facilitator hosts an event that makes learning team activity and sets up participants in a study buddy pair. This is where the real magic happens. This is when all the participants will be able to see everybody's learning goal. And this is when learning becomes a team activity. This is when the individuals feel that they get permission from the team to invest in their learning goal, because everybody will do it in the next 5 months. Now, after this exercise where everybody brings their learning goals to the table, I pair people together. So if you have 10 participants, you will end up with 5 learning pairs. And I like to do this pairing manually. I like to do it manually because I wouldn't pair them necessarily on the learning goals, but I might pair them to people that maybe work on 2 very different projects that they normally don't really interact with. So I would pair them together. Or I would pair someone junior with someone senior, so I create a mentorship bond. This pairing can be done to encourage and maybe break down some silos within your company, between the teams, or really connect sources of information and create positive relationships between your department. I like to do something embodied in this exercise. When I pair them as study buddies, I ask them to sign each other's learning goals to really help with a pre-commitment and embody that pre-commitment. At the end of this event, all the participants can go and just implement and learn together with their study buddies and invest that time into their learning goals. In this stage, number 3, the facilitator has very little to do. The facilitator basically observes. The participants, together with their study buddies, they will implement their learning plan. Now, what the facilitator should observe would be the relationship that really happens between the people in the learning cohort. I have this example when I was in a meeting and 2 very senior researchers working in 2 very different mandates were really aligned on the strategic positioning of the company and of the project. And I was really a bit shocked of how were they so aligned, where before they were always advocating for 2 different outcomes. And then I realized, oh, wait, those two researchers are actually study buddies. So they probably talk as part of their learning plans about their projects too. So they got aligned. So this is a way to create positive relationship between your department. So observe what type of relationships are happening based on the study buddy. Also observe the scalability of this. You're creating 5 positive relationships where maybe there were none. The other thing that the facilitator should observe is within these 5 months, there would be a holiday break, like a winter break. Now, if you have holidays happening, you might have to organize a midway energizer workshop just to remember and remind everybody in the team, in the cohort, that they have learning goals and maybe help them get some of the steam back after the holidays. In the last stage of the framework is the graduation event. I like to make this as a fun event so people really remember and then we create a memory. So when we do this framework again, they will be really excited to do it. Now, the facilitator will host this graduation workshop and will do the following activities. One, I ask the participants to take 1 hour of the workshop, individual working hour, and just revisit everything they learned in the last 5 months. This really helps with the retention of the material that they visited and also recalling later when they work on a project. This information will surface much more easier in their memory. I don't ask participants to present to the work of to the rest of the team what they learned in the last 5 months, because it will be quite boring to really sit through 10 different presentations. But what I ask them is to share those summary of their learnings on a Miro board or presentation deck so others can visit later and learn from them. Another thing that I do with them, it's a bit of a retrospective. And I ask them 3 questions. What helped you boost your learning goal? What held you back from learning? And what would you do differently? This is good because they will share different strategies that help them learning, but also some people that maybe didn't invest so much time in their learning goals, they might express regret and they will remember next time when they are doing this exercise to invest a bit more passion into it. And lastly, I like to do something fun. In this photo, in my design team at Covio, I gave budget for everybody to buy flowers. We were a remote team. And I wanted us to have something that was in our own environment that will remind us of what we achieved with these learning goals as a team. So having flowers next to us in the room and taking a photo with them was the perfect opportunity to do something for a remote team. Or I do something different. Like, for example, I would ask everybody to take 10 seconds to find a hat and come back with a hat. And when everybody has a hat, we throw it up into the air we would do it at a graduation ceremony. That's a really fun event. And everybody gets like highly energized, just searching for that hat in their home. This is the end of the exercise of the framework. And you will find all the templates, exercises, script, even a Udemy class on my homepage, hiraoul.com. And I hope you found 1 or 2 exercises or I inspired you to even implement the whole framework with your team. And if there are any takeaways that I would like you to take with you, it's first, really make learning team activity and leverage it to create new positive relationships and connect different silos within your company by leveraging learning. And use this framework to maximize your learning benefits that your company provides. Thank you so much. And you will find me at hiraoul.com and looking forward to hear from you.